Hey, everybody.
Do you? That's you with that noise.
What noise?
Okay. Yeah. While we're waiting on Dr. Lamb to come on, because he's mainly going to be talking to you this evening, did Tuesday night's session, after you had time to think about everything, did everything start making a little bit of sense to you? Shake your head yes or no. If I thought so. And it will, the first 2 or 3 weeks, just know it is a lot, and we understand that. But after 2 or 3 weeks, and the weather that we've got in a lot of places is not going to help matters right now. So, I understand that too. But you'll see it all beginning to come together in 2 or 3 weeks, and you won't seem so overwhelmed like you do right now. Once we get through the next couple of weeks with task 1 and task 2, it'll all start flowing, and you'll see the rhyme and reason behind everything that we're talking about and what we're doing. So, just don't throw in the towel and don't quit on me, because I boil wet noodles and I go find you and I beat you with wet noodles if you quit on me. Mm-hmm. Okay, Alphine, I see who I'm going to talk to on Tuesday. I see you now. Okay. I actually have 3 people, Alphine, in your area that at the career center. I have somebody from there, and then I have somebody at the elementary school not far from you. So that's what I'm trying to do, is to hit that area. Since it's my farthest place to drive, I'm trying to get everybody, that morning or before lunchtime. Thank you for working with me.
Anytime.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I see Dr. Hamilton has joined us tonight. Dr. Lamb will introduce him later on. Just as a reminder, before Dr. Lamb comes on, um, anytime we do a Zoom session, you can go whatever week we're in. Like everything is week 1 this week. You can go to week 1. You'll find those links to go back and review if there's anything that you ever need to go back and review. Based on whatever is said that particular night. We'll always find the Zoom sessions in that particular week.
Hello there.
Hey, Dr. Lamb.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Dr. Hamilton has joined us as well, so I wanted you to be aware of that.
I see that picture that pops up in his
Okay. Okay. Okay, Dr. Lamb, I have already converted it over, making you the host. So that's been done. Dr. Lamb, could you hear me when I said that? Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, I've turned it over to you now. I've made you the
Good.
host, so everything's ready.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk about evidence artifacts tonight. The 5 tasks of the app cell. We're going to cover those tonight. But before we do that, let me remind you, Task Stream is not yet available because we have not. Drop Ad has been delayed because of the weather, and you will not be in Task Stream until Drop Ad because it costs money to register your account. I think it's about $112, and that's paid for in your fees. And until drop ad, when Gardner Webb is sure that they're going to get your money, they won't put you in task stream. So, but I've got Dr. Jeff Hamilton with us tonight, and he's going to talk to you about, there are two portfolios in task stream. One is your regular DRF portfolio where you upload your evidence artifact work, do your dispositions, and do your competency analysis. And I'll talk more about competency analysis, not to be confused with competency portfolio. Competency analysis, you're going to write those competencies in task 5 of the app cell and task 4 of the app tail. You will write your competency analysis. It's simply a copy and paste into task stream. You'll upload your app cell and your app tail in there when you get through with those. And then you will do your competency folio. You'll do 3 rounds of 21 competency proofs each semester. And again, those are just icons, artifacts of things that you produced as a result of doing the work. And I'll go over later on, the activities that would lead you to produce an artifact that would be appropriate for the competency folio. I have 2 documents to share with you. So at this time, Dr. Jeff Hamilton is going to talk to you about task stream. Dr. Hamilton, I am going to manage participants. I am going to make you the host. So Dr. Hamilton, we ought to be able to very shortly see your screen. So
yeah, I'm on. Let me see if I want to mute everybody else. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Hamilton. I'll be working with you this semester, primarily through the technology associated with TaskStream. Now, TaskStream is a third-party web-based software that every student at Gardner Webb has to use, and it is a place for you to put artifacts, evidences, things that you've written, and it's also a place for you that you will keep a portfolio. It'll look similar to what you see on my screen when it is ready, and as Dr. Lamb said, it is not ready right now. So when it is ready for you to use, I will bring you back online and show you step by step how to go in there. So right now, I can't show you all of that because it's not ready, but when the time comes, I'll show you exactly how to, what it looks like, where to go, and where to put your stuff. So your work, your final copies of your work will end up in TaskStream where it is evaluated. This is the required system that we use in order to process all of your work, in order to get you your certificate, add-on certificate. And if those of you in North Carolina, this is what will be used, that we use to get you your license as an administrator. So there's not much to show with you right now other than that all of you will have a TaskStream account. You will use your Gardner Webb university email address as your username and your password that you were given also. And then I'm pretty sure that once you go in, it will prompt you to change the password. So you'll have a unique password just for TaskStream. So it is taskstream.com, and we'll use it all throughout the semester, all throughout the program, which for you folks will be 3 semesters. And I'll be available to you. You'll be able to email me if you have any questions on it, and I will come online with you and show you the different parts of it. So there'll be more on that to come at a later date. Dr. Lamb?
In your Blackboard shell for your Mel 601 class, you will see a tab over here on the side that says Syllabus Handbook. When you click on that, you again will find your site mentor handbook that you share with your site mentor. You will find your syllabus for this class. And most importantly, you will find the scale handbook, SCALE. This handbook was designed in conjunction with the Scale Center at Stanford University. And so that's why it has to be called the Scale Handbook. This is not just something that we made up one day when we didn't have anything else to do. We had a group, including Dr. Hamilton, who traveled to Stanford University and joined that group, that work group, and developed this handbook in conjunction with them. So it's pretty high-level stuff, but the important thing about the Scale Handbook is it contains, and only contains, your 6 evidence artifacts. That's what it's about. Now, when I refer to 6 evidence artifacts, let's be clear on the terminology. We call them evidence artifacts because you write the evidence narrative. The written part that you will do and submit in TaskStream under your DRF portfolio is a written evidence narrative. It's not an artifact. An artifact are the things that are generated or created as a result of the activities that you participate in, both in terms of your clinical hours and the writing actually of the evidence narrative. For example, the very first thing you were to do was in order to do AppSell Task 1, which is create a PLC, was to get email permission from your principal to form your own PLC. You would write that up, and that would be the evidence part. Task 1 is the evidence part. The artifact part of that is the actual screenshot of the email permission you got from your principal. So that's how evidence artifacts work. The evidence is the written narrative. The artifact is what is generated as having done that. And in that case, what is generated would be an email permission. Now, you say, Dale, and let's go ahead and look at the Scale Handbook for Task 1. Let me move on to that one quickly. All right. Okay. So this is what we're talking about. You get Task 1. Is you're going to set up a PLC, and you're going to get permission from your principal to do that. So that's the evidence narrative part. Pardon me while I move over here. The evidence narrative part. And the
Dr. Lamb, can you hear me?
The written permission, yes.
You're going in and out.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting closer. That's why I said, let me get closer to the screen here. Let me make sure my volume's turned all the way up. It is. All right. So in prompt 1,
You're still very, we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yes.
All right. So the notion here is that the evidence part is the written narrative of how you set up your PLC. The evidence part is the email permission, would also be the minutes of your first meeting, would be the agenda for your first meeting. Those would be the kinds of things that would be artifacts generated from doing evidence artifact 1, task 1, AppSell task 1. So if you understand the difference between an evidence and an artifact, then you're ahead of the game. Let's put it that way. You're ahead of the game. So here, this gives you all the directions to do your evidences. Now, I have a document for you that will show you what artifacts would normally be generated from doing this. And so let me share that with you. All right. Here are the artifacts that you would normally generate from doing the AppSell. An email permission from your principal under task 1. A PLC agenda, a PLC minutes, pictures of the PLC meeting. Those are the kinds of artifacts that would be generated from doing task 1. And those artifacts are what goes in your competency folio in task stream. The actual written narrative or the evidence narrative of your app cell that contained all 5 tasks goes in your DRF portfolio in task stream. We don't mix these together. They go in separate places. So as you can see, I have for you, and this is in your shell, I have for you what you will generate as a result of doing each of the 6 evidence artifacts. I also have them tied to a competency, so you'll know where to put them in your competency folio. You'll know that email permission from your principal to start a PLC satisfies competencies 1, 3, 6, 12, and 20 if you choose to use them there. What are competencies 1, 3, 12, 6, 12, and 20? Well, if you scroll down this same list that I have here, I have them numbered for you. So competency number 1 is communication. Obviously, an email would satisfy communication competence. Change management 6 is delegation. So as you can see, that's pretty scripted. We know exactly what we're going to do. Now, that's evidence artifacts from the evidence artifacts. Now, you say, but Dale, it says that I have to, in that competency folio, I have to have an open-ended one that doesn't come from evidence artifacts. That means it comes from the 80 hours of clinical activities that you do during each semester. You have to come up with a artifact from that as well. So I have that mapped out for you as well. Let me go to new share. And guess what? Your open-ended ones come directly from those suggested activities that you're doing as a clinical intern. So when you address a larger group, small group of adults, that would satisfy dialogue, inquiry, or communication competency. Something that was produced as a result of that, like an agenda or minutes of the meeting or a calendar entry of the meeting, if it's a confidential meeting like an IEP meeting that you can't discuss publicly, or a parent conference that you don't want to divulge the contents of, a picture of your calendar would be appropriate for that, to prove that you did that. So again, evidence, artifacts. Evidence is a written narrative. An artifact is a thing that's generated as a result of having done the thing. I mean, done the evidence narrative. All right, so back to the scale handbook. All right, so task 1, you get permission from your principal to form a PLC. You do your research on a PLC. Now, the good thing about this program is all of you folks are in the business. All of you folks have a master's degree. All of you folks have been around. Now, you all know that just getting a group of teachers together is not a PLC.
Dr. Lamb, you're still coming in and out.
It's the complaint department. Getting a group of teachers together is just the complaint department. To make it a PLC, you need to do research, again, on Richard DeFore, on norms, values, expectations, big idea. You know, you have to set up the expectations for those people. And you have to run that meeting. Now, I had a question today from a student. Can I do my department level PLC? If you're leading that department level PLC, that's fine. I would prefer that you create a separate PLC, but if your principal won't allow that, then you need to take a leadership role in your department level PLC. Questions about setting up a PLC and what my expectations are. I want you to set up a separate one, but if you can't, you have to take a leadership role in the one that you're already in, your department level. Okay, so that's the expectation. Now, selecting the members of your PLC. We want to know what their qualifications and why you picked them. It's got to be more. Well, they were in my department. They were handy. They agreed to do it. Tell us why specifically you want them on your team. And then you lead your first meeting where you discuss. Your first PLC meeting should be about your norms and values. It should be about the big idea. It should be about the PLC itself. And then the second meeting, or later in that first meeting, according to how long you've got, then you start looking at your data. When I say data, I mean standardized test scores. Let me say that again. When you start looking at your data, that means standardized test scores. I don't want to hear anybody complaining, well, that's not that's not all a student knows, and I'm not sure I don't want to hear any of that. That's not what they put on the state report card. They put your scores on the state report card. That's what matters. And that's how you will get and keep a job as a school administrator. If you don't understand that, then you're in the wrong business. It's all about your scores. It's all about outcomes. So that's the data. For you elementary people, it's going to be M-class, dibbles. It's going to be end of course, end of grade. Those kinds of things. Not some arbitrary, well, we give this little test for a set, but it doesn't come out on the state report card, I don't want to hear it. Uh-oh, a question. MAP scores, yes. MAP is M-class. That's what M-class is. That's your MAP data. Yes, 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 yes. It's got to be something that your district and your state recognizes. I had a group in Nashville one time that used some teacher-made test as their data. No, we don't do that. We're looking for gaps in subgroups. So that's the next part. When we look at our standardized test scores, we're looking for gaps in subgroups. This is about closing the gap in subgroups. This is about initiating a local program, treatment, or fix, and a local initiative to address test scores at your school. Your district has initiatives, your states have initiatives, but every school is supposed to have some initiative to improve their test scores, to close the gaps between subgroups in their schools. That's what you're assisting with. That's what will make your principal like this and agree to do this, is that you're going to do something, you're going to put a program in place to reduce the gap between different subgroups in your building. Another question. The answer to that one is yes on Tawana's question. It was a private question. Yes, you can do that. All right. Okay. Okay, I had a question here for somebody who works at an alternative school. You still have data. You still have test scores. You still have outcomes at an alternative school. We have probably 10% of our students are working in non-traditional schools, whether it be charters or whether it be privates or alternatives. Everybody has outcomes at their school. You need to find out what the important outcomes from your principal are at your school. Would you be able to lead a PLC for special ed? Yes. Is there a certain specific number? Minimum 3, maximum of 5. PLC, let me say that again. Minimum of 3, maximum of 5. You get past 5, you don't get anything done. It's too many people. All right, so you're going to be looking at your standardized data for your school, and you're looking to improve something at your school instructionally. I don't want to hear PBIS. I don't want to hear discipline. I don't want to hear that argument. As I told you earlier, we'll get to that in evidence artifact. The CAP, we'll get to that. We start with instruction. Way too many times, beginning or emerging school administrators have this fallacious notion that if kids behave better, they'll automatically learn more. That is not true. There is no research study that says that. PBIS doesn't even claim that. If you want kids to learn more, you have to teach them more. This is about teaching and learning. This is not about discipline. I will not approve of PBIS PLC or working. You want to do that? I applaud you. We'll do it in evidence artifact number 5, the CAP. We will do that, but not in this one. This is about instruction. This is about improving instruction. That's a firm. That's a hard and fast. We're not going to revisit that either. Another question. Since our principal tells us what they want to focus on, you have to prove it. Yeah, that'll be fine. If they tell you they want to focus on this, when you tell them, yeah, we're going to get to that, but not first. First is going to be instruction. All right, so everybody understands what you're to do. You got to get email permission from your principal to form a PLC or take the leadership role in your PLC. We prefer that you form one, but I can live with you taking the leadership role in one. You're going to research. You're going to find out about the big idea, the purpose, norms, values, roles, expectations. You're going to send out an agenda. You're going to lead the meeting. You're going to do an agenda. You're going to do minutes. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to disaggregate your standardized test score data, and you're going to look for gaps in that data. And then, of course, you're going to set apart developing a plan to reduce those gaps. And so that leads us into task 2. You will describe the evidence, data collection strategies, and criteria in the process of identifying your most pressing need. How soon does the first meeting need to take place? This week, next, at the latest. I mean, you've got to be moving along. You've got to be moving along. Dr. Stedman deals with pacing. Dr. Stedman, when is this due?
Which one? I'm sorry, I was looking at something else.
They want to know how soon do they have to have their first PLC meeting?
They need to have it scheduled next week because they have to start turning in by Sunday week. They have to begin turning in draft information for task 1 of the APSL.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, next week is vitally important. You cannot wait. You have to get started. That is why we had the meeting Tuesday night, and we're having another one tonight to stress the importance of you can't wait. You've got to get this thing going.
Yeah, they're talking about the modified schedule because of the weather. I mean, we'll be as flexible as we can. That's why I said this week, hopefully, but next week you got to get it scheduled by next week.
But Dr. Lamb, one of the things that they need to do, don't wait to get started on things for school to start back. You need to be working on things at home and on your own, getting ready for those meetings and things so you can just fill in the blanks when that time comes.
Yeah, you need to do your PLC research so you'll know what you're doing, how to set up your agenda, your norms, your roles, expectations. You need to be emailing people to be on your PLC. You need to get that permission from your principal. You can do that electronically. You got to be going. You got to be fast. Time waits for nobody. All right, so once you will describe your evidence, data collection strategies, and criteria in the process of identifying your most pressing need. Again, your most pressing need needs to be academic. It needs to be a subgroup or a particular curricular area. Your most pressing need cannot be discipline or management of student conduct or some other thing. It has to be instructional. Okay, the question that is on the screen wants a yes or no answer. That would be great. Yes. That would be a yes. All right. The candidate will lead a collaborative meeting where data is analyzed and discussed, concluding with agreement on that specific need. Video of the meeting is optional. We do like a picture or video. That makes a really good, that's a really good artifact. That picture or video, as I showed you on the list earlier. Another question. Yep. Chase made a good point. The Gardner Webb Online Library is an excellent source to find your research materials on PLC strategies, easily accessed during snow days. I believe I have a link in there on how to use the Gardner Webb Library. That library tab is in Blackboard right next to my courses. Just use the library link, and that's how you do your research. That's a good point, Chase. Thank you for reminding us. There is a library link in Blackboard that takes you to the library where you don't have to go to a library. You don't have to subscribe to some kind of you have the library right there at your fingertips in your Blackboard shell. Once you click on that, you can do your research from right there.
And Dr. Lamb, they also, if they communicate with someone in the library, they will also help them with things. There's people there that will help them.
Yeah. All right, 5 people maximum for PLC, including me as the leader. That would be ideal. I'll go 6, no more than 5 members. I prefer 5 total, but we can go 5 members and 1 person. All right. Prompt 2 in task 2 is data is graphically represented in narrative in the form of charts, tables, graphs, etc. These visuals are used to illustrate and support the data analysis included. You can copy those from like your district or school reports, or you can create pivot tables in a Word document to graphically display your data. You can do it in pie charts. You can do it in bar graphs. You can get, you could do a frequency histogram, but don't do that. That's a little bit too much. Just usually what we like are bar charts, bar graphs and pie charts, that kind of thing, or just graphic organizers, graphs that you make. So that's how you. So in task 2, you're identifying your most pressing need from your data, and then you're showing us that data to make sure that we can see that you made a good sound decision on what your most pressing need is. All right, moving on to task 3. You'll create an annotated bibliography that is featured in the narrative to evidence and illustrate the resources for best practices and identified needs. So if you pick literacy for 3rd graders, we should see some references that said this is the best practice in teaching literacy to 3rd graders. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're looking at. If you don't know how to do an annotated bibliography, Google it. And it will show you how to do an annotated bibliography.
Dr. Lamb, there is, I have placed that in their course syllabus, and there's a link that will give them an excellent example of that.
Yeah. Candidates will detail how the PLC created and used multiple graphic organizers and visuals such as charts, tables, and graphs, and embedded them in the narrative to demonstrate how the PLC projects that the chosen best strategy might be applicable to the need. That's pretty simple. Now, have a paragraph introducing your annotated bibliography. Don't just start with the first reference. Give us an introduction as to, again, remind us this is our most pressing need, and this is the research that I've done. Give us an introductory paragraph. Introduce your annotated bibliography. All right, and then in 4, you're going to create an action plan. PLC candidate will lead the PLC in research and development of an action plan to strategically address the most pressing need. And so each of these is a section in that narrative. The first section is the importance of the plan. From the research that you did, this is why this is important. Alignment with student learning outcomes, and you have a section on each one of these. And then the candidate will share that plan with administration and schedule a meeting between the PLC and administrative team to discuss possible implementation. The discussion should include, but not limited to, the following topics: building efficacy, strategies for sustained growth. You can read those. And so that's the second part. That's the second prompt. You need to address each of those in your narrative. Now, a little help down the road. It would be best if you summarize your action plan in a graphic organizer that has specific activity, persons responsible, resources needed, those kinds of things. I believe I have one of those graphic organizers. I believe that there's one in the template that I gave you. Let's go and look right quick to make sure. Let's see if there's one in that template. It'll take me a second to look. Aha. If you'll go and look at your template, remember, I've got all these things already mapped out for you here. You just have to you just have to put it in. I've got everything color code where
It's not showing, Dr. Lamb.
Okay,
It's not showing on the screen.
let me do a new share. There it is.
Yeah.
So this is your app cell template. Pull it up when you start and just add your work into this template. That's the easiest and quickest way, and it's formatted for APA with all your margins, your headers, and those kinds of things. You just drop it in there. It's good to go. I prefer the graphic organizer. Now, some folks like to do a PERT chart in terms of how they summarize their action plan. Either is acceptable. Let me say that again. Either is acceptable. You don't have to do them both. You pick one. Whichever suits your particular learning style the best is what would make me happy. But summarize it in some way, in a graphic way, because a lot of people learn by seeing things like a graphic as opposed to reading a narrative. And remember, this has to be shared with your administration and shared with others. And they'll read through it, but what they'll focus on is that graphic. And that's one of the, especially for virtual communication nowadays, when you're not in the same room with people, it's best to have a visual. That's why we had you do a visual representation of your data. You can read it, that's one thing, but seeing it is always better. There's a lot of us who learn best by seeing a graphic. And it can be either a graphic organizer or a PERT chart, whichever way. But summarize your action plan. So that's number 4. Let me go back.
Dr. Lamb, I saw a question come up. Would you go back and show again? Somebody is confused the difference between the task and the prompts. Go back and show a task and explain that the prompts are built into the task.
Yeah. All right, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
All right, so here's task 4, and it explains everything that you're supposed to do, and then the prompt is within the task. So task 4 has 2 prompts. You address each of the 2 prompts.
Okay, for the person that had that question, does that help explain that? Do you see that now? Okay,
The
gotcha.
prompts are
Good.
embedded in
That's
the
good. Okay. They got it.
So you read the instructions, and then you do the prompt. The prompt is like notes to help you with the instructions. We used to have a set of notes that were separate from the actual task, but we've now integrated them in there. So you read the instruction. All right, this is what I'm going to do, and then we tell you exactly what we want you to do as a result of those instructions. The task has instructions, and then it has the prompt. What's in blue here, do that. All right, and then in 5, you simply reflect on the 12 competencies that you should have met as having done those first 4 tasks. You will write a paragraph or 2 on each of the 12 competencies. There are 8 that are listed below, or they're actually on page 2 of this. You'll have to do the 8, and then you choose 4 more, your choice, and so that'll be a total of 12 that you have covered during the app cell. You'll cover the other 9 during the app tell. What you write it in put it in as task 5. You will also later on take and copy and paste those reflections into your competency analysis in task stream, but we won't worry about that right now. Dr. Hamilton will work with you on that later. But you got to write them here in task 5. You will write your reflection on how you met that competency, what you did. Again, should be a paragraph or 2, shouldn't be more than that, on how you met those competencies by doing the work that you did on your evidence artifact work. Has anyone ever had trouble getting support from their administration? Yeah. But what you have to convince them of is they agreed to let you do this program, is that you're going to do the work, not them. I know they're busy. You're going to do the work. And when it says that you're going to share this with your administration, probably all you're going to do is email it to them. That's why I said make sure you've got a graphic that shows what you're doing. They're probably not going to schedule you a big conference and spend 2 hours with you going over your app cell. What you're going to do in terms of a share is you're just going to send it to them as a result of the work that you've done, just to keep them informed.
And Dr. Lamb, one of the things too, many times you work through your assistant principal at the school too. If the principal's busy, you work through another administrator to get what you need.
How many PLC meetings do you need? As many as it takes. If it takes more than 3, you got problems. You're not very functional. The first one is to get set up, get your norms established, and the second one should be looking at your data. The third one, you should be coming up with your plan. If it takes you more than that, if it takes you 3 or 4, but this is not an everyday kind of thing. You need to be moving quickly. Need to be moving quickly. Your data will tell you what your need is. You probably know what your need is, most pressing need is, before you ever even look at your data. Probably know what subgroups are deficient already. All right. So that's the 5 tasks. Let me answer this question.
Okay, Candace, yes, that is the first one.
All right. I'm going to attempt. Dr. Stedman, can you answer those questions?
Yes, Tamara, that is however long it needs to take, but probably you shouldn't keep them there forever. I would say, the first one maybe 40, 45 minutes, no more than an hour, but then, got to respect people's time. If you've already discussed it, you need to go back and just make sure that the group you're working with, that you've discussed it with that particular group. And I didn't get that last question. If you're working with your grade level, or if it's a PLC during the day and you can make it work, then, that's okay. But, if you're having to work after school with your team, just make sure that you're respectful of their time and the other things that they have to do as well.
Do most students have PLC meetings during their planning time? You can have. You can do these meetings virtually. You can use Zoom. You can Zoom your PLC meetings. That's probably the easiest way to get them done, is just Zoom them. You can Zoom them anytime. That's one of the reasons why we try to teach you how to use Zoom to begin with.
And then remember, that becomes an artifact if you Zoom and you save it as a video.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've got the directions on how to use Zoom. So if you can't find a time during the day to do this or planning time, most students do them during the planning time or directly after school, and put a 15 or 20-minute time limit on them like that. But we do have some that just do them virtually. Or probably the most common is they'll meet for the app sale, they'll meet 3 or 4 times and get their most pressing need and do their action plan. And then after that, when they get up to speed on Zoom, usually after that, they Zoom the rest of them, as you move through the different evidence artifacts. You're going to keep this PLC, and they're going to work with you on subsequent evidence artifacts as well. And so generally what students do is the first one for the app sale, they meet face-to-face, and then when they figure out how to use Zoom, they start Zooming them after that. All right.
Dr. Lamb, somebody asked about the example given. Remember, we gave you a sample of what the app cell and the app tail looks like. That is in Blackboard. So there is a sample of, remember we talked Tuesday night about beginning with your school profile and then moving in that direction. But there is an example in Blackboard of the format for putting all of this together.
Yep. Okay, Dr. Stedman, can you see task stream on my screen?
No. Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you get your login and go to task stream, this is your DRF portfolio, and that's what it's called. Direct response folio. It's called your DRF portfolio, and it'll be for spring 18 add-on licensure program. It'll look just like this one from fall of 17. And you can see over on the left-hand side for Mel 601, you have to put your completed app cell and completed app tail in here. Do not put tasks or individual parts or pieces in here. You only put the final product when all 5 tasks of the app cell and all 4 tasks of the app cell are up and going. You put them in here for a final state evaluation. Do not put work in progress in here. That's not what this is for. All right, and you see that you'll have a competency analysis due this semester, and you'll have your School of Ed dispositions. As I told you Tuesday night, School of Ed dispositions take you 5 minutes or 6 questions. It's just a self-assessment of where you are when you're beginning the program. Now, the competency analysis, that's what I've referred to tonight. When you write your reflections on competencies in task 5 of the app cell and task 4 later this semester, task 4 of the app tail, you simply copy and paste those reflections into this competency analysis folder here. You rate yourself, and then you just copy and paste into those boxes. That's how you do it. So this won't be due until the end of the semester when you have finished both the app cell and the app tail. You will copy and paste those reflections into these boxes and rate yourself as to whether you met or didn't meet that particular competency analysis for this semester. Obviously, if you do these all, you will have met them.
And you have to do all 21. You have to.
Yeah. So that's where you're going to put these later on. I just wanted you to see that. So don't worry about competency analysis right now. You will have done it by the end of the semester because we have you do it specifically in task 5 and 4 because students were having such a hard time with their competency analysis. They didn't know what to do. We went ahead and embedded it into the actual evidence itself so that you will have to write it during the course of the semester, and then you will have it at the end of the semester to enter into task stream. You'll do your dispositions, you upload your app cell and your app tail, and your DRF portfolio is done for the semester. Then you switch over to your competency folio. that you will have set up. You open up communication, the first one, and you upload the agenda for your first PLC meeting, or the minutes for the first PLC meeting, or the email permission for a screenshot of the email permission from your principal. You simply upload that here. And you don't really have to write us anything. You might want to write a one-sentence explanation if it's not self-explanatory, but you simply upload the artifact here using the attachment button up here. And that populates your competency folio. Remember, these task stream is what is submitted in lieu of you taking an exam for state licensure. They don't care about Blackboard. They don't want to see how the meal is made. They don't want to see all the comments and the work and the different activities. All they want is the fruits of your labor. They want to see your competency, artifacts, and your evidences. And they want to know that you know what the competencies are and how you address them in analysis. And they want to see where you are in terms of a self-assessment of yourself. That's what goes into the state this semester. And you will have one of these every semester. But what we do feeds directly into task stream. It's not something separate. We have you do this in your evidence, artifact, and classwork, and then you put the fruits of that labor into this portfolio. So that's how this works. And Dr. Hamilton will be your task stream person. I'm also task stream certified. I can answer questions about task stream, but he will be the person that will guide you through all of this. All right. Back to the shell here. All right.
Dr. Lamb, while you've got that up, show the app cell template one more time. Bring it up, because that was the question. Is there a guide? That is why we put that in there. That is a guide. Remember, it has what the first page should look like, and it says your name here. And then if you follow the guide, just follow the guide, and then you fill in the
profile in.
Right. And now it's not cookie cutter. This is a guide. It's not cookie cutter, because you're going to put information in there as it relates to your school environment and the needs at your school. This is just but this guides you with what you need to do and how you need to set it up. And if it's in dark bold-faced print, that means that needs to be a title or a heading. You put something there.
Yep. And I've highlighted those for you. Put something there. Where it's in yellow, add your text here. All text in black stays. That means school profile stays. And then you put your text there. Now, what's in red comes out. And I've just, I've given you a little extra reminder here. If you don't know what PLC research is, and I've given you a little red here to kind of get you started. And I put your reminder down here that you don't have to do both. You do one or the other. But I've kind of given you a little, I primed the pump a little for you here on the first one, to remind you what goes there. And so, that's from the prompts. That's what I'm to put here. So if you'll look at this and go back and look at your scale handbook with your instructions, your task, and your prompts, I see now what they're trying to get me into a system where I understand what they're asking me. And so that's how we do it. And you have one of these for the AppTel as well. And I've even given you some red in that one too to kind of get you started. After that, after this semester, I'm not going to be as kind and give you all this stuff. But we want you to get started off the right way and understanding the process. Well, the question is will your principal select your focus? You're supposed to select your focus by looking at your data. It's an academic focus. If your principal wants you to do discipline, tell them fine, we'll do that later. But we got to start with an academic focus. And you will pick where you're going to go according to what your data tells you that you need to go. Don't solve a problem. That's common. We're going to work on reading. Well, why would you do that if your reading scores are higher than your math scores? What does your data tell you? On the template, do you leave the task or should we? No, everything in black stays. The task descriptions stay. Everything in black stays. Everything in red comes out. Where there's yellow, you put your work in. Again, I've got that color coded on the template. Everything in black stays.
Dr. Lamb, may I say something?
Yeah.
Now, next Sunday night, not this Sunday night, but next Sunday night, when your first draft is due, don't send me something or don't put something in there and say, well, this is just your drafts, because of the pacing of this program, your drafts should be as close to a finished product as possible, because you don't have a whole lot of time to go back and fix things. Now, we know because it's a draft that there's going to be things that you have to go back and fix, but you should work to submit things as if it is a finished product at all times. And I will tell you, I am a stickler about grammar, about spelling. Make sure, if you know that is not your strength or whatever, you make sure you get somebody to look at it before you submit it, because if it doesn't look professional, I'm going to send it back to you and tell you to make sure you do it right and make it look professional. I don't want you to look bad.
If we run into a problem, we can email you. Yes, you can email me or Dr. Stedman.
Yes.
We're always available.
Yes.
That's one of the problems with getting old. You don't sleep a lot. You'll get there one of these days. Yeah, you'll get to the point where you don't sleep either. Yeah, you can email us. We'll help you. Peer reviews. I want to close out tonight. It's like I got just a couple of minutes left here. I want to close out talking about peer reviews. Dr. Stedman talked to you Tuesday night about peer reviews. That give quality feedback. Look at the rubric on the peer review form and those kinds of things. I want to amplify those comments. I want to add two more. First comment is be nice to people. That's number one, and that's enough said about that. And number two, don't burden your team members by giving them incomplete work and asking them to kind of fill in the blanks for you. Dr. Stedman just told you he's not going to do that. Don't expect your peers to do that either. Be kind to them as well. Get it as close to as a final form as you can before you get it peer reviewed or go to Dr. Stedman. Don't get in the habit of thinking somebody else will fill in the blanks for you. I'll just do what I follow the template, follow the rubrics. If you do that, follow the prompts. I mean, we've actually gone back to the task and added prompts in to tell you exactly what to do. We used to have a separate document of notes. We've integrated those notes into the task now, where if you pull up that handbook, you should know exactly what to do, and then look at the template that goes with it. It should be pretty complete when it starts the review process, either for Dr. Stedman or for your peers. Don't do a fill in the blank kind of thing. We have too many folks who, especially the first couple, I don't know what to do. I'll just, they'll tell me what. No, you need to be figuring this out. You need to dig in and figure this program out. Okay, I'm going late. Will we meet Zoom and peer review before next Sunday night? Dr. Stedman does pacing. He's already addressed that. Dr.
Okay.
Stedman, can you address
and all that information is in there. They need to go to Blackboard and look at the pacing guides that I have established for them.
The Zoom schedule is right here. on the main menu. And when you open that up, it tells you exactly. Let me move that out of the way so I can.
Okay, now these are for, no, that is just for our Zoom schedules, Dr. Lamb. That's not for them.
But here is kind of gives you an overview of where you need to be by what dates.
Right.
You need to monitor that and follow that as closely as you can.
But remember, I gave them a separate document, an APSL completion timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right. I am going to, under your competency folio, I've made setting up your competency folio unavailable because, again, you're not in TaskStream yet. I put it there for the purpose of people viewing it, but people started trying to upload their folio. You can't do that yet. So I made it unavailable. As soon as you can get in TaskStream, I'll make that video available to you again. I will also, under competency folio, I will upload those 2 documents I showed you tonight of where you can get your artifacts for your competency folio. I intentionally did not put them in until I talked about them because I don't want them to be confused with evidence artifacts. That's for the competency folio only. They're not about evidence artifact. I mean, they're not about your task for your evidence narratives. There's something separate that comes later. When we start filling up that competency folio, we'll look at those 2 documents. And so I will add those later. I probably won't add them right away because I don't want you to be confused by them. So right now, focus on doing your task and writing your evidence narratives. You will generate artifacts, save them. We will use them later and put them in that folio once it's available. All right, Dr. Stedman.
Dr. Lamb, one more thing. Click on your Zoom Teams. Okay, this is in the this is in the 08 class. These are there's 5 groups or 5 teams there. You see who you are. You need to go ahead and these teams need to start communicating with each other and setting guidelines and parameters for, when you're going to meet, what you got to do. This is where somebody takes the leadership. You do a Zoom session with your group and you get things established and you look at the pacing guides and you begin to set up, meeting dates for your groups. All classes, the 02 class, 04 class, 010 class, and 08, you have groups. So you need to look at who are your groups. You can communicate in Blackboard with these people, and you can go ahead and begin establishing a time that you can get together. If you don't see your name, send me an email. This would be the 08 group. So check your particular class.
This is the 02.
This is 02.
This is the 02 group. Mine should have I'm in the 08 shell, but remember it went back in and took my work out. I'm going to have to replace this one and put your names back in the 08 shell. Dr. Stedman, check each of your shells and make sure the right ones are in there.
Okay, I'll go back in there and check that.
Yeah. Let me see now. But this should say. I think this is the actual people for the 08 shell. It just says the 02 shell. Let me go back. Again, that was when Blackboard crashed.
Okay, this is another one. The person that had a question said she saw her name, but I'll go back and check and make sure all of them are there.
All right, so yeah, make sure that all of them are right, because after Blackboard crashed the last time, I know I'd already corrected that, but that's my group in 08. I did it alphabetically. Remember, the first person in the list is the Zoom master for the first time here. You will rotate the Zoom master around, but for the very first Zoom, Bailey needs to contact everybody else and kick off the Zoom for group 1. And you can see the names. The first person in the list is the first Zoom master.
Okay. Dr. Lamb, since you're saying that, then that is an established rule for the rest of you as well. So whoever's name is first beside the group, take the initiative, you take the leadership role, and you move forward with the Zoom team, with the Zoom group.
All right. I see our time is up.
Okay, and you're going to turn it back over to me so I can save this as a video, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, y'all.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
All right. So if I stop share and end meeting, it will, oh Lord, we got chats. Anyway, I'll end the meeting and it'll record for you.
Okay.